What's up, everybody? Guess what? We had a podcast yesterday. We're having another one today. So you know what to do. Hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite Average to Good podcast. Call it what you want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie, Chuckwagon Davies, and Tony, Big Tones Miola. And we are excited to have back-to-back podcasts with you. Yesterday we had one. We had another one today. We're having another one Wednesday, another one Friday. It's all popping off. This is a big week for Call It What You Want. We're glad that you're here with us. Big Tones. Roster got dropped yesterday, and I just want to get into it. What were your thoughts? We got four.
Yeah, I want to hear these, Tone. Go ahead. Let's go.
Come on, Tones. Everybody heard from us.
I mean, first off, good to see you, boys. Yeah,
Great
good to see you. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be, and we had heard that this roster was going to be a little bit sort of off the wall, if you will, right? With some guys that are in and some guys that are out, and some guys who had moved to some teams. Then maybe you let those guys settle in a little bit more during the international window, and then some veterans included in this. So I knew there was going to be surprises. I just didn't know where they were going to come. Obviously, look at the four goalkeepers. Matt Turner, he's going to need some games. We'll get into that situation in a little while. Ethan Horvath. And we'll get into it, Jimmy. Don't worry, because that's what it says in the rundown. We're going to do that later. Diego Cochin, Charlie, I think I brought him up a couple times on Morning Footy.
You said he's starter one, number one now. He's got the one shirt.
Oh, yeah, I didn't quite remember that one, but I know I said that he's a guy for the future somewhere along the line, and. So, we're going to see some new guys. Jimmy, you and I were just talking about Marlon Fossey, a kid that's come through the system and was a winger, played it right back for the U20s. I'm okay seeing any of these guys. My question is just how much of an imprint somebody outside of, and I'm going to say that in air quotes, outside of the current coaching staff had in all of this, right, and had in the decision-making. So, I mean, I don't get too caught up, and you guys know me and all of this stuff. If you want to see some guys, that's great. We also have two games that I think are they're not massive fixtures. Canada, okay, there's a little storyline with Jesse and all of that, but it's more about seeing some players. And until the new coach comes in and is finally settled, and who knows if this is going to happen this week or next week, we're really not going to know what that guy's. We're in Dave Sarakin mode right now, right?
Yeah.
Right. Let's just see
Tony,
a bunch of guys,
on.
Right?
It's Dave Sarakin mode, and it of course it matters when you get called up and you can perform, but ultimately the new coach could come in, Pochettino, for instance, and say, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you, and it doesn't matter what you've done, right? So,
well, I disagree, because if you, I understand that it's still like Dave Sarakin mode, but you have this chance. Do you have a chance to potentially turn Pochettino's head? Because he's definitely watching these games. He's watching these games.
I'm not saying that 100%. You can't perform and keep your place. What I'm saying is, no matter who's there, that might not be the case with Mauricio Pochettino on the sidelines. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fair.
Not that you don't stand the chance to take your opportunity and run with it and perform really well over the next two friendlies. What I'm saying is, people called into camp. Take out the game. Just called into camp. That doesn't mean when Pochettino, if he reportedly comes and officially signs, that you're still going to get that same opportunity when he comes, because he might watch your games and say, you know what, that's not what I'm looking for out of that position.
No, that's fair. I get it.
Come on, stop trying to put these words in my mouth.
Yeah, as you try to put words in Tony's mouth about saying that Diego Cochin is the number one. Now, what's interesting, and I want to go back to you, Tones, because the Colorado Rapids actually put out a post on social media just saying, why not Zach Steffen? If you're going to call in four goalkeepers, the guy was the goalkeeper of Leagues Cup. He's making some good saves. What do you think about that? Is Zach Steffen, are we moving past that at this point, even if he starts to play well again?
Well, first off, good on the Colorado Rapids social team, right? I thought it was awesome what they did. But yeah, look, Zach Steffen, I think if we go back 3 years, we thought that camps moving forward, Zach Steffen was going to be part of, and it just hasn't worked out well for him. But do you call Zach Steffen in because he won 3 shootout penalty kicks in the Leagues Cup? And he did play well, right, in the competition. So, and I think with the uncertainty of the goalkeepers right now, you would have considered it, and I'm sure they considered it. But in this particular case, we kind of knew that Turner was going to be here, right? Because he hadn't been playing. Had he been playing in Europe, I don't think he comes to this camp. I think they need to give him a game in order to get some rhythm. Schulte, we know what he's done. He's been part of the Olympic team. I get it. Ethan Horvath's been part of it, and we'll go through him as well because it's been a rocky road from match day one in the championship. And coaching, I think, is just in here because he's gotten so much love out of Barcelona and them saying that they think that this is the future goalkeeper for Barcelona, that you bring him in just to see what he looks like with this group. He trains part-time with the Barcelona first team, right? He's played 2 games in the league, and it's not gone great. I think he's given up 4 or 5 goals in the league. So he's a dual national. So do you want to bring him in and kind of bet him into, hey, this is what national team camp looks like for us, right? This is what the possibilities are. And then you sit and you talk to him and you have that, whatever it's going to be, like 8 days of a conversation with players like this. And we've seen this before, right? This is not new to the national team. And I actually think we've done a really good job of that. So leaving Zach Steffen off, I'm sure he feels hard done by this, but now go for the next 7 and 8 games in the season, whatever they got left, go to the playoffs and play really well and worry about the next camp, right? And worry about getting in there, because if he stays on this path, I can see him getting called in. But truth be told, Zach Steffen is not ahead of Gaga Slonina, who I'm sure they didn't call because of his schedule and what he's done, and we'll get into that. I think he plays this weekend. He's had 5 games so far. 3 of those he's been player of the game. So I'm not surprised Zach Steffen's not here. If he goes on this path for another 2 months to the end of the season, I would be surprised if he doesn't get called in, especially like a December camp, assuming that the next manager, wants to do that.
I would say January camp has got to be his goal, because now you've kind of put the attention on yourself. Once the club puts out that, hey, you guys made your mistake, our guys, our shining armor is definitely warrants a call up. Now that you've put that microscope on Zach Steffen for the rest of the season, now it's on him to perform. And if he does, he will definitely deserve and earn a call up in the January camp. That's without a doubt. So I'm excited to see if he's ready for that challenge, right? And ultimately, if it is Pochettino and he does sign on, he's going to be watching goalkeepers all over MLS, because obviously that's a weakness for us right now. We need keepers who are playing.
Okay, so I looked at Zach Steffen. I didn't realize that he's still only 29. I feel like he's just been part of the pool for so long. He's just older. Only 29, Zach Steffen. There is major questions about his knee. That's been out there for quite some time. If, to your point, Tones, if he can remain healthy and stay healthy and show that consistency of making big saves, the timely saves, demonstrating that he can hold the ball under some pressure if they're trying to play out of the back or whatever it may be, just so he could tick every box and do that consistently, then yeah, of course, he's got experience. He knows what it's like to play for the U.S. And at what point do you make room for players that maybe fell out and now are kind of rebuilding their reputation and getting back to peak form? I think there needs to be room for that as well.
Yeah.
So Tones, I'm going to throw this to you really quick, and then you can tie into about whatever you're going to say with this. Mikey Varas came out and said that the long-term vision is to make sure that this is a really competitive training environment and I love that Chuck's rubbing his hands together.
Go ahead, Tony. I want to hear this.
Because he wants the competition to be high, right? And he says, I'll reiterate that the long-term vision is to make sure that this is a really competitive training environment during this camp. All the boys know that there will be no starting lineup sets. What they do in training is going to matter. The guys who are performing in training and earn it are going to get the starting positions.
Oh, I can see the blood boiling in Tony.
So Tones, that feels like a very club style mentality. Were you around the guys on a kind of a day-to-day basis, or as you walk into preseason with your team, when you're going to be around them every day? The national team's a little bit different.
You think?
But yeah, I know. I think, and I know.
And U20 level to full team level, by the way, mind you.
Yes, there's a little bit different. What your thoughts on this from Mikey Varas?
I guess
Say less.
he had.
Say less.
I guess
Jones.
he had to make a comment about this camp, and I know that I'm sure he's read social media and everyone talking about how guys have had their positions kind of set for years. But did he say long term? Did he use the
said,
words
I'll
long term?
reiterate that the long-term vision.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that makes me think that
Stop
like
there.
Mauricio Pochettino is saying something. I don't know.
No, Mauricio Pochettino is not here long term. Especially now, you just took one of what is it, 13 camps? I think total, or do I was something like that? Whatever it is, around 10 camps. You just took one away, right, by not signing him. So there's no long term with the national team. National team is now. National team is where I get this camp is a little bit different because not everybody technically is available, right? And they want to see some guys. Okay, I understand that part, but there's no long term.
Long term at most is 2 years now. In
Yeah.
terms of long, if you're talking
Less than that.
absolute long term,
Less.
you're talking 2 years. Yeah,
Yes,
but
you're talking what? You're talking 19 months right now, like, and however many camps. There's no long term in this thing for me. Do I think that the next coach still has enough time? No doubt about it, right? I think I've been on that bandwagon. Everyone says we have no more time. We have no more time. I don't necessarily agree with that, and I can understand if you feel a little bit rushed by this whole thing and you think we don't have time, and you're a fan that believes that. Okay, that's fine. I just feel differently about this, but there is no long term Mikey Varas. There's no long term in any of this. And truth be told, if you read the rumors about Mikey Varas, there might not be long term past this week for Mikey Varas, right? So we got to worry about building now because these camps you got to win now. And yeah, so it's a comment, Jimmy, and
I get it.
So
he's got to say something.
Yeah,
it's a little corporate.
Yeah,
but here's the messaging from U.S. Soccer. Could you put long-term vision in there, and then that we want to be competitive? Yeah, it's like no shit. That's kind of, you're the national team. You want to always step out there and be competitive. All right, let's get into the outside back position because we don't have Jedi Robinson in this one, Chuck. Right? He's resting. He's been going at a high level for a long time and is coming off a fantastic season and has picked up where he left off right now for Fulham. Had another assist this past weekend and 2 off-season surgeries. So they just want to give him a little bit of time to rest. If Pochettino was coaching, though, I'm pretty sure he'd be here. Just throwing that out there. Serginho Dest out with the ACL injury. We had Scally fill in for him, and he did fine. He went up against some top guys in the Copa America, and I thought he held his own defensively. Probably could use a little bit more on the attacking side of things, all things considered. Big opportunity for our depth behind Dest and Jedi Robinson to really step up, and we're getting a couple different looks. Where do you think we are on the depth chart? Because it would be nice to be 2 or 3 deep in every position on the field.
It would be nice, but that's just not the case. In the midfield, I'd say we're deep. Like I said, the strength of this group right now at the full men's national team level is in midfield. You have a number of players with a lot of quality who are playing for the most part. You have Johnny Cardoso at Real Betis. He's in and out, but at least he's involved. Weston McKennie was arguably the player of the season at Juve last year. This year, a new coach comes in, says you're not included. He stays, and next thing you know, guess what? He's getting subbed in for Locatelli yesterday against Roma. So he's proved himself to get back into the picture, which I love. I love that you're putting in an uncomfortable position, you're challenged, and now he's got to rise above it. So it looks like he's on his way to doing that. Tyler Adams, yes, we know how important he is. He's got to get healthy. And then when he does get on the pitch, is he going to stay on the pitch? That's the big question because he's so vital. Yunus Musa is in the picture at Milan. Another game-changing substitution window for Fonseca when he brings in obviously Leao and Musa and these guys came in and made the difference. And Teo Hernandez was also in that group.
Tammy Abraham.
So, when you're looking at the midfield, I'm pleased with that. In terms of left back, there's no one even close to Anthony Robinson. There's no one even close for Serginho Dest, to be real. Center back is probably our weakest position, right? In terms of experience and guys who are playing. That is, you're waiting for even Chris Richards at the international level to take the reins and be one center back that you can depend on no matter who the opponent is. I think there's still lapses of judgment and he's not the quickest center back. So sometimes he can get, at least burnt from quick strikers and behind. But ultimately, I think we're a ways off from having real depth at every position. So, that when you say that, it kind of hurts because in terms of guys just playing at their clubs, we're not even at that point yet.
I think just to touch upon center backs, and then Tones, I'm going to throw it to you, especially about the outside backs. But center backs for me, we have guys, and they've gotten chances. It's just nobody's really taken it and made it their own and be like, I'm getting this opportunity. I'm never giving it back to anybody else, right? And really just own that shit. And maybe at times you see it, but that consistency of putting a run of games together, and I don't know if we've seen that as much. And that's why Tim Ream got back into the pool in the first place. We were lacking that for some time. Tim Ream comes in and has that, right? I'm going to settle the team on both sides of the ball. I can organize when we don't have it, and I can get everybody in a good position to make plays. And then I'm very good at passing the ball, and I can play out of pressure. And then it just unlocks a lot of the pressure and tension that we were feeling as we try to build out. He has that. We don't really have anybody that matches that consistently as much. And that's why we see Tim Ream back in again. And so, yes, I think there is questions about the depth, but just kind of taking and owning the opportunity. Yeah.
I have to address a couple of comments. You knew.
Oh my God, we're 16 minutes
already. We didn't even start yet.
So just these two comments back to back. Jay Davis and Gunnar Stahl. I'm guessing Gunnar Stahl is Swedish because shout out to Sweden. Jay, I don't think Scally is that far behind Dest from a defensive standpoint. Yeah, from a defensive standpoint, he's not that far behind Dest. But from an attacking standpoint, which is where we are in this version of world football, where the outside backs, the wing backs are so pivotal in attacking and creating chances and creating width and being an option in the attacking third, that Scally is miles away from anything in the attacking half. So that's where you're talking about how far behind is Scally in terms of impacting a game, miles behind, because that's where these outside backs really impact the game, is transition, creating chances. And that's what Serginho Dest can do off the dribble and in his advanced position. So I see it that way.
I honestly, just to bring it back one more time to center backs, if we had a whole bunch of really good center backs playing well, Tones, you and I have talked about this before, both on and off camera, then I think we would potentially go to a back three. But I don't know if we have a back three that could just so lock it down that we could let our wing backs, which obviously would turn into a fluid back four, right? Based on the position of the ball and whatever. But even that, right? If you had Dest and let's just use Dest and Jedi as our wing backs, that's what those guys, I think that's their best positions. And it would be nice to let them start there and then have a really solid back three with maybe 2 6s. And now we've got, I think we've got something, but I don't know if we have all the pieces to play that way just yet. Well, your thoughts on our depth? Yeah. Because when we start to really look at it under a microscope, it's got to make everybody nervous, from U.S. Soccer all the way down to us talking about it. We don't necessarily have the depth that I think that we need to compete consistently at the highest levels.
Well, I was trying to, when I knew this topic was coming up, I was just trying to write down names, right? We know Dest and we know Anthony Robinson, right? And Dest, until 2025, essentially, we're not going to see the best of the recovery of Dest fully. So throw that out the window. This might be an opportunity now in a couple of camps to see some other guys. So in this camp, Fossey and Joe Scally, you throw Shaq Moore into that conversation.
Brian Reynolds.
Nathan Harriel. I'm sorry, who was that one?
Brian Reynolds would be
Reynolds.
If we're just throwing names out there.
Yeah,
Brian
just throwing
Reynolds.
names. I'm just putting the right backs. Harriel, right, played in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And then where do you go from there? Like now you're really, and Dez is putting Ledesma in here, who's not a right back, who's a number 8 that hasn't made it as a number 8, who's now playing right back at PSV, right? So you're converting somebody essentially. So I think you look at the guys that are right backs first before you look at a guy like Ledesma, who's now played like 3 games or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So you now go to left back. Anthony Robinson, obviously, I'm not sold on Lund, and I think I told you this a while back. Caleb Wiley, we're going to see in this camp. I think
You got John Tolkien. Like Tolkien.
I'm just thinking all the left backs that are out there.
DeJuan
DeJuan
Jones
Jones now made this move. Who
you could play?
you
could play Paredes, but he's not a left back first.
Right. I think his energy is more of an attacking player, especially at the highest level when it's such a cerebral position that Anthony Robinson. I was never sold early on Anthony Robinson because I didn't think his service, the quality of service, was there. He has focused in on that one position. Right. And that's where he plays. And that's what he's locked down to the point that there's now rumors that some of the bigger clubs, again, remember, he almost went to my club a couple years ago, and it was a trip with a bad physical to Milan that didn't work out and all of that stuff. Whatever the end result was, he ends up back at Fulham. So we don't have a lot of depth and experience at that level. Joe Scally is like the one guy that's playing fairly consistently. But then you start converting guys. Then we talk about Weston McKennie as a right back. He's not a right back. Tim Weah is not a right back. We can talk about it all we want. When he played at Juve, he played as a right wing back, right, which is different than playing as a lockdown right back. So we're making it up at this point in a lot of the depth part of the outside back positions for me.
How about the ageless wonder, DeMarcus Beasley? Shout out to Bees. Love that guy. I'm so disappointed that he didn't get to play in 5 World Cups because we didn't qualify for 2018. I don't want to trigger myself. We're going to take our first break of Call It What You Want. When we come back, we're going to talk about more of the good stuff, including Mauricio Pochettino. It's been 19 days since we announced or we heard that he was signing with the U.S., but yet nothing. What's happening? We're going to talk about it right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, they're wrapping up the summer. And now we're looking forward to kicking it with superstars. Now that's CBS Sports Sunday. We'll see you on September 8th.
All right, welcome back into Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy alongside Chuck Wagon and Big Tones. And I did tease a little Mauricio Pochettino talk, and we're going to get there first. And we're also going to get into Americans abroad. We're going to do a little weekend roundup. But as I said, Chuck, 19 days. We've been floating on this cloud of hope, and wow, we got Mauricio Pochettino, and yet nothing has been officially stated. In fact, U.S. Soccer, when they put out their tweet about the roster, put something, and I'm paraphrasing here, like, as we continue our coaching search, this is our roster.
Like, no, there's no more damn coaching search. That search is over. We found our guy.
That feels like a very contractually obligated. Don't say anything yet because we still got to work out the legalese.
Yes,
but 19 days. Like you'd like to think as that starts to leak and get out there that this would have been done at this point. But we're almost approaching 3 weeks before this is even announced officially. So, are you nervous, Chuck? Are you nervous?
No, I'm not nervous. But I did find it fun to float that conspiracy theory that one of our followers they put out there just saying, hey, as Manchester United starts to stumble and they realize they made a mistake keeping Ten Hag, and Pochettino, who was initially linked to the job, didn't get the job, is still available technically, then hey, let's go after him now and let's try and turn his head. And I think that obviously he's not going to do that, but I just found that funny. I think it is just inevitable. I know for a fact actually that it was just the finances with Chelsea, trying to put a nice bow on it, how it's going to be broken down. And he was owed a large payment in August. So I would assume it's just taking care of his staff, making sure all the finances are right, and then he's ready to go. But I think in his mind, he's made up. He's coming to the U.S. He's going to try and help this team go as far as they possibly can in the World Cup. And I'm excited. I'm still in like fantasy world. Like, this is happening. We got a top target. Let's go. That's how I'm living my life right now.
Listen, Todd Bowley, Chelsea owner, American. We need him to be the best American he can be and help us get this over the line and get this done. I don't know what the hell the holdup is. Tones, are you hearing anything? What's your inside scoop? We know you know everybody. Your network is huge.
I've heard it's just money trying to figure it out. And keep in mind, he also, as Charlie touched on, he's also apparently bringing 6 to 8 guys with him, right? So that doesn't happen overnight. Unfortunately for all of us, we'd love it just to be okay. You say yeah, and
they're all in.
yeah, where everybody just come and yeah, we'll work it out later on. That's not how the world works these days. So I'm with Charlie. I'm waking up every morning thinking that Mauricio Pochettino is our national team manager until I hear that he's not our national team manager at this point. And hopefully, I'm with you. Said Jimmy earlier, he's watching all of this. I don't know if he's had any fingerprints on this at all, because does he really know? And no disrespect to Marlon Fossey, does he really know these guys? Does he know coaching? Does he know any of them? I think we've probably been planning this camp for quite a while. But you're damn right, he'll be watching, and he'll be watching every step, because as much as we look at this camp and say, oh, well, we don't have all of the best players. If you're, I'll use Fossey again, if you're a Fossey, or if you're even a Mark McKenzie, who's been one of those guys, who I love Mark McKenzie, and had him for years with the youth national team, and there couldn't be a nicer kid to root for in the entire world. You're like, okay, this is my chance. Mark McKenzie's of the world, Shaq Moore's of the world, every one of them. Christopher Lund of the world, who's a fringe type of guy. He's like, whoever the new manager is, there's going to be a new manager in some period of time here in the near future. I need to impress this camp, right? So to them, it's vitally important that they continue to get better and now prove themselves with the national team. To some of us, we might go, okay, it's not the greatest opponents. There's nothing tied to this. It's not a full roster. But to these guys, we've all been there, man. We've all been in our first and second camp, and you're like, every minute is important to you.
Yeah, and it should be important to the coaching staff. Well, not this particular one. Mikey Varas holding it down for now in the interim status until hopefully Mauricio Pochettino takes it over sooner rather than later. And speaking of Pochettino, just put a bow on this. I'm kind of hoping that U.S. Soccer has a press conference set up for tomorrow, because then we could have 3 straight days of call it what you want, which would be pretty amazing. All right, let's get into Americans abroad. I'm just going to whip through some of the notable results for our player pool, and then we can dive in with our 3 up and 3 down. And we're going to start with Lyon with their 4-3 win over Strasbourg. We had Caleb Wiley come off the bench and get an assist, a very good pass to his teammate that broke him through. He scored on the breakaway. Tanner Tessman came on with a few minutes left, made his Liga debut. I want to come back to Wiley at some point, though, because what happened was Strasbourg was up 3-1, and then Lyon scored 3 goals while Wiley was on the field, and some of those goals were scored in his area. And I just think that's a harsh lesson in terms of welcome to a big step up in how you're playing and the opponents you're playing against. And then we had Middlesbrough going into Cardiff and winning 2-0. Aiden Morris, they say it an own goal. He took a shot from inside the box, just inside the box. It deflects and goes in. I give him the goal. They call it an own goal. Ethan Horvath plays, not really at fault for either of the goals, but his team loses. Crawley Town losing 3-0 to Barnsley. Second straight clean sheet for Gaga Slonina. Donovan Pines also scores. And then we have Norwich versus Coventry. Norwich on the road away from home to Coventry. Sargent and Haji, right, both started, squared off. Neither one of them had any input on goal contributions, but Norwich wins 1-0. Leeds goes 2-0 win over Hull City. Brendan Aronson plays the full 90 minutes, looking very good, playing with a ton of confidence. Chivas wins 5-0 over Juarez. Cape Cal gets the assist. He is the reigning player of the month in Liga MX. Got named that in July. Lazio 2-2 against AC Milan. We talked about it a little bit yesterday and a little bit today too. Christian Pulisic had an assist on the first goal. Yunus Musa came on as one of the super subs and helped them get that 2-2 draw. Celtic 3-0 win over Rangers in the Old Firm. Cameron Carter-Vickers starts. Austin Trusty on the bench after making his move from Sheffield United to Celtic. And Celtic win 3-0 in that one. Pretty comprehensive performance. The Hoops, I think, are going to go on to win the Scottish Premiership. What's going on with you Rangers fans? And then Monaco 1-1 with Lens. Balogun starts, gets subbed off, and then they score afterwards. It's unfortunate, didn't make the most of that start. Heidenheim 4-0 over Augsburg. Leonard Maloney subbed off with an injury, but Heidenheim looking pretty good so far early on in the Bundesliga. PSV 3-0 over Go Ahead Eagles, one of my favorite named teams. Go Ahead Eagles. Malik Tillman gets the assist. Ledesma starts once again at the right back spot. Ricardo Pepi comes off the bench. Luke de Jong apparently hurt. Came off 35 minutes in. Ricardo Pepi played the rest of the game. We'll see what that means moving forward. Then Juventus, a big 0-0 draw with Roma. Weston McKennie subbed on with about 20 minutes left to go. So with all those notable results in mind, Chuck, I'm coming to you. We'll go 3 up first. Who really stood out for you this weekend for our player pool?
Well, one that's apparently injured, with a toe injury that can't be called into the national team camp, who played 90 minutes in the Old Firm Derby against Rangers and had a clean sheet. So I'm going to go first with Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Okay.
So he is on the up because he's healthy, obviously playing in the biggest game of the season for Celtic. I mean, this matters to every Celtic fan in the world. This match right here, you're not playing unless you're good to go. So the fact that he was good to go for this game, but he can't play for the U.S. men's national team, that's a head scratcher. 2,
Yeah.
Cade Cowell, like you said, 4 straight matches now with or 3 straight matches in July. He had the Tijuana goal and assists, Querétaro 1 goal, Mazatlan 1 goal, and then just recently against Juarez he had an assist. So I think he's just been on the up, and that's one player that has all the intangibles, the physical attributes that you can't teach, but he needed to work on that. The end product, he needs to work on changing his pace and not being so predictable and reliable and just being north-south. And I think playing for a manager like Fernando Gago, who is obviously the complete opposite in terms of a player, a defensive midfielder, sprayed the ball, good awareness, maybe he could teach Cade Cowell a lot of things that made him great, and that would just ultimately shape him into a player that we need within this player pool, because that pace and quickness you cannot teach, and he has loads of it. And the third one, I'm giving it up for Austin Trusty. Yes, I know he hasn't played yet, but he made a fantastic move from the Championship to Celtic. And imagine him in a back four playing alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers. Not bad. So I just want to give him a shout out just because I like him. He's a great kid, and he found himself in a good situation.
All right. I like those selections. Big Tones, your turn. 3 up.
Yeah, I'll try and give you a couple different names. I'm going to first go, and I went for the entire month. I went Haji Wright in the performance at Coventry, and he had that winner. Was it against Oxford, right? The late winner, the dramatic winner. He's played 4 games, had 2 goals in that game, and continues to improve and continues to grow into, remember, youth national team player that played as a right winger, then went to Europe and started playing as a number 9, and then now is playing as a left winger and finding some joy as a left winger. So not easy earlier in your career to continue to change positions like that, but he's kind of, we had him on Morning Footy a couple of weeks ago. Charlie, I don't remember if you were in or not for that show, but just talking about how he's growing into and enjoying being a left winger. And I thought it was a pretty interesting conversation because he had never in his entire career played on that side of the field. So I'll give him one. Anthony Robinson, and I know we talk about him all the time, but he just, for me, has become, I mean, we haven't had, you joked about DeMarcus Beasley, Jimmy, earlier. We haven't had a left back. We haven't come into camp with a true left back for years and years and years. And now we come into every single camp where we always thought we knew who the goalkeeper was. We always thought we knew who the center backs were. The left back position was like a wilderness position. Like we could just, whatever tree we hit, that was the guy we were going to try at left back for years and years and years.
Was Eddie Lewis the last real true?
He played more as a left winger. Remember in the World Cup that ball he served to Landon, he was a left midfielder / winger, but could play as a left back. But again,
Same with Bees.
Yeah, I mean, Bees started as an attacking player his entire career until was it Bob Bradley that put him? I'm trying to remember. Was it Bradley that put him there?
I think
first?
it was Jurgen. Maybe.
Okay,
yeah. I think it was Jurgen though.
It was
Jurgen. Okay, yeah. So it was in that time frame. But then, but we converted a guy. But Anthony Robinson is our first true like left back in forever. And then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give Aiden Morris a little bit more shine. 4 games, walks into Middlesbrough, makes this move from Columbus in the middle of the season. Not easy to do. He goes there, has a short preseason, and all of a sudden he's now started 4 games under Michael Carrick and has done really, really well for himself. I could have thrown Gaga in there, but I mentioned him a little bit earlier for the performances so far. And I keep seeing when people talk about Gaga, it's League One. Shot's a shot, man. And in those leagues, you probably see more stuff because the defending is a heck of a lot worse than it is at the highest level. And with that discussion, all of these guys, when we talk about them, whether they're right backs or goalkeepers or center backs, we don't know what the expectation is from the next manager. So Do they want a goalkeeper that's just a flat out shot stopper? Well, we got to look at that. Do we want someone who needs to be great with his feet, which I don't think is going to be the case because we don't have a lot of those guys? Let's just consider that as we move forward with all of these conversations, especially in those positions that are not attacking positions, the back five, if you will. So those guys, I'll just throw them out there and give them a little bit of shine.
Okay, yeah, I love that. My 3 up, Aiden Morris. I've been really impressed. Maybe because my expectations were a little bit lower for how he was going to do, and he has been tremendous. And what I love is the comments that you see from the Middlesbrough fans about how much they love this guy, and that pumps me up. So I'm excited for Aiden Morris, and he just got a call up as well. So that's good and much deserved. You got Austin Trusty. I'll just piggyback off of what Chuck said. Even though he leaves Sheffield, he makes the bench for the Old Firm right away, getting some trust from Brendan Rodgers, who has a ton of experience. And so I think that's going to be good for him and his confidence. And he just got called up as well. Ricardo Pepi, I'm throwing in there for fun. Jedi Robinson's a pretty obvious one. He's been good. And Tone's already mentioned him. But Pepi's going in there because he got the call up, which you never know because he's not starting games regularly. But Luke de Jong gets hurt. So this is a big opportunity. I don't know the significance or severity of de Jong's injury, but if it's somewhat of a couple weaker, big opportunity for Pepi to step up and be the guy, which I think is fun. So I wanted to throw that in there. 3 down, I'll just go right first. Flo Balogun, as I mentioned, gets a crack at starting. Didn't start the game before, didn't even get off the bench. He gets a start, and he ends up getting subbed off. And for the websites that I look at times for reviews and results, he was rated as one of the lower rated players. So that doesn't pump me up for him. I didn't get to watch a good portion of that game, just caught the highlights. He had 1 shot on goal. Tough angle, but he hit it right at the goalkeeper. Maybe on another day, if he's feeling good about himself, he puts that side netting somewhere. We've seen him. He's got the capability of that. I'm going to go with Leonard Maloney as well. Heidenheim has been very good in the Bundesliga. Doesn't get called in. Maybe he would have been, but he got hurt, got subbed off. Big opportunity, right? We have some players that are hurt. Weston's not in. I know they're not a like for like. Tyler Adams isn't in. Johnny Cardoso's not playing regularly and could have been a good chance for him to get into the team. So I think that's a missed opportunity. So I'm going to put him in the down, even though his team has been playing well and he's been solid. And then I'm putting Reggie Brooks in there. We talk about right back depth. He just got his contract rescinded. He's leaving by mutual consent from QPR. He's 26 years old. He's never really kicked on and been able to find a place where he could be the guy at right back. And this is as good a time as any to have that opportunity. And
you mean Reggie Cannon, right?
Sorry, Reggie. I said Reggie Brooks.
Yeah,
Reggie Cannon. Yeah. Sorry. So I'm getting John Brooks because John Brooks just signed with Hertha Berlin. But yes, Reggie Cannon. So Reggie Cannon had his contract rescinded with QPR. And we'll see if he pops up anywhere in a good situation. I'm kind of curious what he does now as a free agent. But Tones, I'm going right back to you. I'm going to let Chuck bring us home on the 3 down. But who 3 people that maybe haven't done as well for you?
Yeah, okay. I'll throw Gio into the conversation. His position, I know that the sporting director came out and had mentioned the conversation he had with Gio. Still has to find a solution for himself this year if he's going to stay there. He's got to get more minutes. Matt Turner going from Nottingham Forest, where he's the 3rd goalkeeper, to Crystal Palace, where this weekend he was the 3rd goalkeeper again. And who knows if that's just a 1-week thing, but maybe will be the backup moving forward. And I don't know that it's an ideal situation. I suppose you move up 1 position, but maybe it was just untenable at Nottingham Forest. And a downer for me, and not necessarily Jimmy for play, is what happened with Timothy Weah on match day 1. The fact that he last year was seemingly on his way out at Juve, and this year comes in and he's got a new manager, and the manager likes him and starts him opening day of the weekend, and he scores the goal. He actually gets hurt before he scores the goal, and then kind of limps through the goal and has to come out, where you establish yourself at a massive, massive club like Juve, and all of a sudden you get hurt. So it's not a knock on him at all. It's just a downer for me. It's a negative for me that a guy gets an opportunity like that, gets hurt. So hopefully he gets back on the field soon. So maybe a little different twist on the downer, if you will.
Yeah, and to add to that, Juve just added Nico Gonzalez and Conceição at the winger position. So not a good thing for Timo as well. But competition's always healthy. Chuck, how about you? 3 down. What do you got?
Yeah, Gio Reyna, for the same reasons that Tony Miola just put out there, just saying, you know what, you're not getting any playing time. You made the decision to stay at Dortmund, and so far, you're not being trusted as one of the players to even come off the bench really and change the game. So that's a bit of a disappointment. Ethan Horvath is on number 2 for me, given the fact that Matt Turner is not playing. The position's wide open. You got Gaga Sonino, who's a youngster, hasn't done anything. Got actually, pumped in Belgium on his loan last year. Started to get a little bit better towards the end, but still playing in third-tier football in England. You got Patrick Schulte, who's in MLS, who's still prone to making mistakes. This is your time to shine. This is your time to make a claim for the one. And it's gone the opposite way. And then the third one is Folarin Balogun. You make a move to a club like Monaco and you stay within France. And, there's obviously many more challenges now that you're playing with top players, internationals, and players in your position that you got to battle with. And last year didn't go as well as planned. So you felt you got a year under your belt. You know what how the team plays, all the tendencies. And it seems like his confidence is shot and he hasn't been effective.
Yeah, it's I'm a huge Flo Balogun fan. I hope he can figure it out and figure out a way to regain the trust, I'd say. I mean, he got the start, so clearly there's some trust there, but just not making the most of those minutes. Are they playing in a system that's not getting him the ball in good areas? Again, he found himself in a good spot to get a good chance when he was on before he got subbed off. He looks frustrated. That's what I'll say, and I hope that he can work through that in a positive way, and it ends with a happy ending towards the end of the season, and of course, with the U.S. men's national team. All right, we are going to take our last break and call it what you want. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit of a transfer window recap. Who do we like, the moves that they made, and maybe some players that what were they thinking? I don't know if that's a good idea. So yeah, don't go anywhere. We're going to get into it.
At CBS Sports Galazzo Network, we're bringing you the game.
Madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Wow.
And all day long!
24/7.
Okay, welcome back into Call It What You Want. Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Miola. And we are going to do a little transfer window recap now that the transfer window is officially closed. I'm going to give some notable summer transfers for you guys, and I want you to tell me your favorite transfer and then your least favorite. All right? Those are the rules, and I'm setting the rules here on Call It What You Want. Okay, first up, Matt Turner loaned to Crystal Palace from Nottingham Forest. Like, dislike. You guys can hit us up at Glosso America as well. Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you as well. Tanner Tessman, Venezia to Lyon. I'm going to try to refrain from adding any commentary to this. Mark McKenzie, Genk to Toulouse. Austin Trusty, Sheffield United to Celtic. John Anthony Brooks, a free agent going down to the Bundesliga, second Bundesliga with Hertha Berlin, his boyhood club, which is pretty cool. It's a good story. I said I wasn't going to add any commentary. I just did. Malik Tillman, Bayern Munich to PSV, making that loan official. Serginho Dest, Barcelona to PSV, doing the same. Caleb Wiley, Atlanta United to Chelsea, and then loan to Strasbourg. Aiden Morris, Columbus Crew to Middlesbrough. And then Johnny Cardoso to Tottenham, kinda. I don't know. He's still with Betis, but because of the Gio Lo Celso move, he's thrown into the conversation. Essentially, this is what I'm picking up. If Cardoso plays well, then Spurs kind of have a first right to go get him if they want. That's kind of so they can kind of look at him and watch him, and if they like him, then he can go.
Don't you think it's great business by them, right? Like you have a price, and you think you got a player who's might be on the rise and the price might go up. So you go and set something. You go and set a price for a guy so it doesn't get inflated at all. And that's the most you can pay. I wonder if that's what we see moving forward from some teams. But the fact that Big Ange and Tottenham and Daniel Levy and all those guys have an interest in him, I think shows what Johnny Cardoso maybe has done over the course of the last 6 months or so, right? Because he was a midseason transfer last year at Betis. So, I mean, he's clearly his stock has risen.
Yeah, and I like that business a lot, and I think it's smart. I also want to clarify that we had Serginho Dest and Malik Tillman. They played for PSV last year. They were on loan last year. And now we got the full transfer. So they're only PSV players now. They don't have any ties back to Barcelona for Serginho Dest or for Bayern Munich for Malik Tillman. Just wanted to clarify that. So Chuck, coming to you. Your most favorite transfer of our player pool now that the transfer window is closed. Who do you like?
Well, I'm gonna go to a place where I didn't see the player necessarily going to, especially given the rumors, and that would be Tanner Tessman, Venezia to Lyon. Lyon is an incredible club, strong league in Liga, and the expectations for that club are massive. So to go to that place, I think he's going to benefit tremendously. And he even got into a match in his first appearance coming off the bench. So I think that's given Serginho Dest, we kind of knew already he was going to go back to PSV after the loan was so successful. So I'm not surprised by that. I also liked the Mark McKenzie and Austin Trusty transfers because we need center backs who are playing and playing in good situations. Yeah, and that's that for me. That's all you
Those
get.
are good ones. Those are good ones. How about you, Big Tones? Your most favorite transfer?
Yeah, my favorite. Charlie just touched on my most favorite one. That's McKenzie to Toulouse, right? I was at Toulouse. I trained there before I went to Watford. It's a great place, great little city, and it's going to be a great league, I think, for McKenzie. And if you look at his sort of time at Philly, I was counting up games at the first team, not counting Philadelphia Union 2 games that he played in. He's coming up on, I think he's at 199 professional games that he's played in his career as a center back. And it's all been at a place, Philly, then Genk, and now he's going to Toulouse. Like, he's making this kind of move for himself. And I like that for him. And I might have a soft spot for the kid because I know early in his career at the youth national team level, there were guys that didn't believe in him. And I was with Hugo Perez at the time, and he kept asking us, what do you think? What do you think? And we're like, you got to bring him back because he's gotten better every single camp. And he brought him in and then started to show a lot of belief in him and worked with him. He's gotten better and better and better, especially with his feet. I'll tell you what, there was one kid that I had in the 5.5 years I was with the U teams that you never thought was going to get better with his feet. It was Mark McKenzie. So credit to him, man, for what he's done. On the other side, Jimmy, the one I probably don't like, and I'm hoping that my mind is changed like 2-3 months from now, is the Matt Turner move. Like, I personally think with
You've done. I mean, he goes from number 3 where he's never going to get any games to a number 2 where
what is his agent thinking?
he
For real?
Well,
yeah,
I get
would it
Like, oh, let's go to London so I can be the backup in London instead of Nottingham Forest. Like,
do you think it's his agent? I mean, Matt Turner's already come out and said that he wanted to stay in the Premier League. I feel like he's holding on to that as much as anything.
Yeah, I don't care that you're not going to play.
I get it.
Yeah, and that's kind of, Charlie, where I'm going. I just wonder if you go to a bigger club, and I don't know we don't know what the possibilities were, but I would have liked to have seen a championship club that is battling to get in the playoffs. Like, there's got to. Matt Turner has his faults, right, in his game, and they need to get better. And I just don't think he's going to get better sitting on the bench.
He's not.
He's not.
Like, go to League A, go to Holland. I know it's not the Premier League, and everyone wants to play in the Premier League, but that's the key word. You want to play in the Premier League. I just don't understand going and sitting in. So that's why I reserve that 2 months from now. I hope that we find something else out that we didn't know that he's now playing, and so I don't know. Someone say, well, it's one of the teams that was interested. Yeah, I would be interested in playing, going somewhere where I'm playing. I mean, I can't imagine it. Well, how old is Matt? He's got to be like 27, 28, right? I don't have it in front of me, but it doesn't matter. In your entire career, like, that
30.
can't make you happy. 30? Okay. That can't make you happy not being in a place where you're not playing, man. I didn't play the last 6 months of my career, and I went home every night like, mother, Bruce Wayne, I'm
with you, Tony.
I'm gonna show you every stinking day, like, and it didn't work out in the end, but like, I can't imagine at 30 years old, like, it was never a question that I went to the field, and if I was, and I'm not in anyone's shoes, and again, I don't know what the financials are, and I would never begrudge anybody, as I always say, to make the move for that. But damn, man, you got a World Cup at home coming up. A World Cup.
Yeah.
There's one thing I know. I don't care where anyone ranks me or puts me. There's one thing I know better than any goalkeeper that's played for the U.S. team. And I don't talk about my career hardly ever, right? But I know what playing at home in a World Cup does for the rest of your life. That's what I know, right? And that to miss that opportunity because you want to stay in the Premier League, I hope that's not the fate for Matt Turner. I really hope it's not, because this could be life-changing for him.
And right now he's giving an
Yeah.
opportunity by not playing, right?
Well-
By not playing, he's giving opportunities to others to maybe
Right.
to get over him. Go ahead, Chuck.
And Jimmy, I think that's the problem that I have is he's given the opportunities, but no one's really taking it. And, you know, it's the drop off from 1 to 2, 3, 4. It's pretty dire in the sense of goalkeepers. You know, from ever since I've known goalkeepers, Tony was in goal. Then you had Friedel and Keller and Tim Howard and Brad Guzan. You had goalkeepers galore all over the place, and not to mention all the Marcus Hahnemans of the world. Other keepers who were doing well and playing at a high level. But the caliber of keeper that to play with the U.S. men's national team, to wear the #1 shirt, was so incredibly high and respected across the world. And now our #1 was playing for a team that nearly got relegated and was the #3 keeper at the club. That he would rather go to Crystal Palace to be the #2 behind Dean Henderson, who is 27 years old,
Right.
and is the starter, locked in no matter what. He's not going anywhere, right? So it's a little frustrating when you talk about the goalkeeping position, because that was something
here's
that we
the
could
question
always
for-
rely on. It was
Sorry, Chuck,
consistent.
go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, here's a question for
Go ahead,
the both
Tony.
of you, and I don't know the answer, but I'm just thinking as Charlie's talking about this, what goalkeepers at the moment, as we sit here today, do you feel like are getting better? Right, that are getting better. I mean, just
Well, the
think
ones that
about
are playing, that's the easiest answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So and
But
that,
And there's
Schulte
only
and
two of them.
Gaga.
Schulte and Gaga. That's it. Those are the only
Right.
two that are getting better. That you can
Yeah,
legit say they're getting
Matt
better.
Freeze.
Yeah, that are in the pool. Matt Freeze
Right,
is
they're
in
in
the
the
pool.
pool. Sure,
is
they're
getting
cool.
better. A kid like Cochin
Coaching's going to get better.
is going to get better as it
All
goes
younger
on.
guys.
Like if I'm Turner or if I'm Horvath, now Horvath is playing, so he at least has the chance to get better, right? Because he's playing. Now I know
But
there's
he's not
been some
owning
stuff-
it.
He's
Yeah.
not. And I feel like and again, I feel like we were in so many different periods that Charlie mentioned of goalkeepers. Guys went into camp fighting not to be #2, right? Where I feel like now we're fighting to be #1. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like we had a bunch of #1s that were fighting not to be the #2 guy, and that someone put Stefan. Okay, I'll put Stefan in there. He's getting better. He's got a chance to get better. He's playing all the time. So I think you see my point. I'm gonna have to go back and study that question a little bit more. I just thought of it and kind of start documenting it a little bit over the course of the next couple of weeks and months.
Well, my least favorite transfer, I had maybe another name, but you've convinced me that it's Matt Turner now, Big Tones. So that's that one. My favorite one, I'm going to go with you, Tanner Tessman, Charlie. I really like that move from Venezia to Lyon, not only because of where I think it's going to challenge him, but he has the opportunity to learn from Nemanja
Vidic.
Not Vidic.
No, Matic. Sorry.
Matic. Yeah, I did the same thing. I was about to say Vidic. I'm like, no, don't. I've already messed up Reggie Brooks, Reggie Cannon.
When you throw in Nemanja, it's usually
Nemanja.
just
I always
one.
think I go right to center back, Vidic. But
Yeah.
Nemanja Matic, 36-year-old, obviously has a decorated career and has won trophies. And I just think that in itself, too, will help him as he goes in to basically replace Matic. And I like that part of it. I think that's a part of the equation there. I've been really surprised and impressed by Aiden Morris. I want to throw that out there as well. And the Mark McKenzie move and also Caleb Wiley into France. They're playing now where everything's a little bit quicker. And I just want to bring up the fact that they're going to have to really pay attention to the details because the game was 3-2, Lyon-Strasbourg. Strasbourg was up. And Caleb Wiley, who came on, he was the one that kept everybody onside. He was just a yard behind the back line, and that allowed Lacazette to get in behind. That led to 3-3, and then Lyon goes to win 4-3. And these are the little details that these guys are going to have to get better at. I've seen Mark McKenzie get isolated in a situation where maybe he wasn't seeing that regularly in Belgium or wherever else they were playing previous. And that is going to be really important for their development as well.
Yes.
All right. So
guy's got to have a decent agent, huh?
He's got a decent agent.
Get him to Lyon.
That's right. After everybody was slandering the agent for so long in Italy that the guy didn't know what he was doing, but he figured it out because that's a hell of a move. All right, let's get into our August team of the month. So we all put together our best 11 for our player pool over the month of August, with all the European leagues getting back and getting started again, which is very exciting. Big Tones, we're going to go with your best 11 first, and then we're going to just whip through the rest of ours. Then we can do some comparing and contrasting. And I'm very curious to see who you went with. You got Go ahead and talk us through it.
Pretty obvious in some of them, and Slonina and the back three. I was looking at a right back, and I was watching Houston this weekend, and Griffin Dorsey, a kid that just busts his tail every week. He's not going to be a national team player. He just is Mr. Everything for another winger converted to right back by Ben Olsen. I just thought I'd give him a little bit of shine in this.
Yeah,
I think the other
love
ones.
that.
Yeah, Yunus Musa, 3 substitute appearances, has come on for my Milan and has been outstanding so far. Don't be surprised if he squeezes his way. The Fofana move to Milan has maybe hurt him a little bit, but he has been outstanding in his moments that he's played. Aiden Morris, we talked about already. Brendan Aronson, been really, really good. 2 goals so far in 4 games. He came on as a sub that first week. Was that Portsmouth? He scores and then misses what he would probably think is one he should score, but has now since started. Haji Wright, we mentioned earlier. Pulisic, I put on the right-hand side because he's played in the 10. He's played as a right winger, and this past weekend for Leao as a left winger when they benched Leao. And then Josh Sargent up top, 4 games so far, 2 goals and an assist. I don't think we can we're not at a point we can look past Josh Sargent yet. And I think if you talk about forwards that are maybe getting better, he's one I think that is continuing to get better and better as the weeks go on. So there's my August team of the month.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. How about you, Chuck? Who do you got? Who do you got?
I'm gonna preface this by I don't like this segment at all because I don't necessarily think that there'll be 11 people who should be on here.
Triggered by being asked to put his 11 together.
Yeah, I am a little triggered. I'm annoyed, but I put up 11 anyways. So here we go. I went Schulte in goal, Jedi, Chris Richards, Cameron Carter-Vickers.
I love that.
Richie Ledesma, who's playing right back. He's not a right back, but he's done well at PSV. And they're much better than everyone there in the Dutch Eredivisie for the most part. Anyways, Yunus Musa and Cardoso, Pulisic. You could have played him on the right and Aronson there, but I went with Pulisic at the 10 because that's where Paulo Fonseca has used him amongst other positions, but he's looked pretty good in the 10 spot. He's played some great passes out of midfield. Haji Wright, Sargent, and Aronson. So all 4 of those players have played well and have definitely deserved to be put into a team of the month.
Okay, I respect that. Okay, my turn. I put this together as well, and it's a little more difficult because, like you, Tones, I was kind of searching for who that right back was going to be in particular. I'm like, I don't actually have someone that's clear cut. However, I know he's a stopgap option. He's not going to be playing there long term, but I want to give a shout out to Richie Ledesma for making the most of the opportunity and getting the trust from PSV to put him in not his best position and him going out there and doing pretty well. So Richie Ledesma is my right back. Cameron Carter-Vickers, despite his toe issue, has been solid for Celtic. Mark McKenzie, like the move that he made, like that he's already being trusted by Toulouse to go out there and get some valuable minutes. I had Zach Steffen in goal because I wanted to give some shine to the reigning Leagues Cup goalkeeper of the tournament.
I see that.
Jedi Robinson, for obvious reasons, been excellent for Fulham. Malik Tillman in my midfield with Aiden Morris, Christian Pulisic, and then same with you guys. I got Wright, Sargent, and Aronson, or some collection of that. Pulisic could go out wide. Aronson could go in the middle. But
guys, was I triggered to do this segment or no? I don't know. You tell me.
I don't. Yeah, you're right. I don't think you're triggered as much as annoyed because I can hear your tone that you weren't happy with this segment. We're just having some fun here and call what you want. Call what you want.
Yeah, of course.
But ultimately,
I love fun.
We love fun, but it doesn't sound like you're having fun. We're gonna have to turn that around.
No.
So final thoughts. Let's get some fun going. Let's get some final thoughts on this Monday, Chuck, as we tie up this podcast. Any final thoughts for us as we look ahead to a big week for U.S. soccer and U.S. men's national team in particular?
Well, first, I want to apologize for my Monday blues. 1, I was annoyed with this segment, and 2, I popped my tire. So this is the first time I've had a pop tire It was an interesting process, but here we are. Nonetheless, final segment. I would like to say thank you all for tuning into this show. We're still just waiting for that announcement for Pochettino to say, guys, I'm here to stay. Ultimately, let's just keep it going. Let's support the boys against Canada and Jesse Marsh on Wednesday here on this show.
I know. Well, yeah, we got some big news for everybody. And I'm going to segue then and just let everybody know that on Wednesday, this one's going to kick off a very special podcast episode, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We are going to welcome back our former co-host and the current Canada head coach, or I should say the current MLS Canada head coach, or whatever the title needs to be.
Don't do that.
Jesse Marsh is coming back on the show to dig in with us here on Call It What You Want. We're very excited. So that's my final thought. That's my big tease. But Big Tones, what do you got for us? Final thoughts for today.
Yeah, fine. I never heard anyone describe a flat tire as an interesting process. You change the tire, Charlie. You get out, you put the jack on.
No, I don't. My tires are different. It's a Tesla tire. It's
wow, the
completely different tire.
It's an interesting process. Anyway, I'm gonna go. That is some flex by Charlie right there.
Yeah, just go get one of your other cars, Chuck. You have, I don't know what, 6 or 7 cars. Just go get.
I'll get the chopper. Let me get the chopper.
Look, interesting week coming up. But yeah, look, I'm gonna go with. I'm going to bed tonight thinking that this is the week that Mauricio Pochettino gets hired. That's where I'm going to bed. That's my interesting thought for the week. And who knows if it's going to happen. And I'm going to go search Tesla tires to see what the hell is different about a rubber tire that you put on any other freaking car.
I've never heard anything like that. My tires are different.
But
they're all rubber. They all go around.
No, these guys are different. These guys
and they pop, and then you change them, and then sometimes they wear out, and then you put a new one on. But I don't know. Maybe they're really different. But Jimmy, I don't know. I don't have a Tesla, so I wouldn't know.
I don't either. Yeah, us peasants are just driving normal cars, unlike Chuck over there. All right, that's it. We're calling it a show. Come back and join us on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for Jesse Marsh's return to Call It What You Want. It'll be a very special episode. We'll also preview that game once he leaves, and we can talk our trash about our old friend Jesse Marsh. All right, we'll see you then. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you soon. Later.